What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Nolan TCG, and we are back here today with another deck profile, and this time it is for Toons. So I have finally gotten a hold of like all the rarity upgrades that I'm probably going to try and chase. I'm definitely not going to try and chase more. That's a lie. That's just an outright lie. But yeah, we've finally finished rarity buffing this deck, so we're going to do one profile here. Probably be the last one for this for a little while. I have made like a couple of small changes. The extra deck is much more useful than it was in the past. You are still an Extrav build, so it's not like super reliant, but it is now much more useful than it has been. There also are some small changes to the main deck, which just generally make the deck more consistent. But before we do get started, as always, please remember to drop down below and hit that subscribe button if you are new here, because we are always happy to have new people. And let's get on into the deck profile. Okay, so starting us off with the main deck, we have, of course, 3 copies of Toon BLS. So I'll slide these up a little bit. But yeah, 3 copies of Toon BLS. Here's probably the most powerful Toon monster you can summon in terms of like general board presence. It does get you that like free spot removal. You can't attack, which is kind of bad because you want to just attack as much as possible with this list. But you do have just like that free banish when you need it. It does target, bit bad, but oh well. Then we've got 3 copies of Toon Dark Magician. Generally, this is the second half of the combo that you want to be doing with this deck. You want to try and open this as much as possible. This is like the most useful one when you're doing a combo. It does net you that like free search. Does cost you a discard, but it's not super important. Then we've got, of course, 2 copies of Red Eyes Toon Dragon. Given that we special summon this card from the deck, you do need to play multiple. Drawing it isn't terrible, although you would prefer to just be summoning it with the Blackstone from deck. Then gets you the free summon of the Dark Magician. Then the Dark Magician can net you the search or the summon. Typically, you want to try and drop all 3 onto the board and then start playing off with these 2. Following that up, we have the last Toon monster in the lineup. That's 1 copy of Toon Harpy Lady. This uses your back row destruction and does open up a couple of like extra deck play lines. Then, of course, we've got 3 copies of the Blackstone of Legend. This is probably the best card in the deck, given that it's a Toon deck. This does facilitate so much, given that it can summon that Red Eyes, and then the Red Eyes can then like get them out of hand. Does facilitate a couple of link climb opportunities if you are out of resources. So it is a good card to have at 3. Seeing 2 of it can be bad, but it is your primary normal summon, so you do need to see this card. Then we play 1 monster-based hand trap, which is 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Springs. You can change this for any hand trap that you like. Whatever's like good for your locals, you can switch this in. This is just like the 3 cards of variants that we have in the list. You do need this to typically be a monster-based hand trap because of some of the decisions that come later in the deck. Then, getting into the spells, we have, of course, the ultimate rares, and that is 3 copies of Toon Kingdom. This is the best ultimate rare in the new set. The other 2 are bad. Like, no one plays the other 2. Everyone plays Toon Kingdom. Also, it looks really good. But yeah, this card protects you from a lot of things. Stops that targeting, gives you the protection with the banish one. Overall, this card just says you win if you play against Sky Strikers, which isn't going to happen anymore because Sky Strikers isn't as good as it used to be, but if you have that one guy at locals that plays Sky Strikers, this is the best card to stop them. Then the card, if you search Toon Kingdom with, makes you essentially unbeatable to Sky Strikers, and that's 3 copies of Toon Bookmark. Again, card really, really good, gives you that extra bit of protection, and then net searches for everything. Then we've got 3 copies of Toon Table of Contents. Can stack the graveyard for Engage, because this is Sky Striker, since we're talking about Sky Striker so much. Nah, just kidding. But yeah, this just, again, is every card in the deck. Then we've got 3 copies of Toon Page Flip to net you that free special summon. It is good to have board presence in this deck, because you do want to like present damage on every turn. If you're not presenting damage, you're probably going to lose. Then, for getting even more damage, we have 3 copies of Toon Rollback. This deck does essentially win in the battle phase by just ignoring your opponent, dealing a bunch of damage, and then either trying to lock them under Flare Metal, or just generally winning the game with that damage. So 3 copies of Toon Rollback is great. 3 copies of Comic Hand follow this up. Card, again, really, really good. Allows you to steal and then they become Toons. The one question that I had that I raised like last night when I was thinking about this, if you steal a UCT, can you attack directly and then attack all monsters your opponent controls? If you know the answer to that, comment it down in the description below, because that would make this card insane versus dinosaurs. Next off, we've got 1 copy of Shadow Toon, rounds out our Toon spell lineup. This is just essentially free damage, which is the reason why you're playing it. Then we've got 3 copies of Extrav. Because we are an Extrav build, you do want to be drawing as many cards as possible. This deck does have quite a lot of consistency, given the fact that you can have 6 cards that search everything in your deck. The Extrav just makes it even better. It is actually a pretty good Ash bait as well. Like, you do want to be able to resolve those specific searches, so just dropping the Extrav at the start of M1 lets you banish the 6, they're not super dependent, then you just like free play if you get disrupted there. Then we've got 3 one-offs that round out the main deck. We have 1 copy of Terraforming to search the Kingdom, 1 copy of 1-for-1, which does get you out the Blackstone. This is the reason why you're playing a monster-based hand trap, because you do need a higher monster count, and you do play a lot of spells in this list. Then we have 1 copy of the Trap, because we do need some kind of negation if we're made to go first. Okay, next off we have the extra deck. Actually, let me just relist this a little quickly, because I have this listed from big to small, and I always like to go small to big on my extra deck. But of course, we start off with the Link 1s, which is 1 Linkuriboh, 1 Relinquished Anima, and 1 Almirage. So the reason why you're playing these guys is because those Blackstones can be burnt out in the mid game, and you do want to be able to do Link Climb plays. These are just 3 very good options for that. You have the Anima, if your opponent's not paying good attention to their zones, you can slurp something good up. We have the Linkuriboh to provide that little bit of protection, and we have the Almirage for our Link plays. Then for the Link 2s, we have 1 copy of Barricade Board Blocker, can get you back the field spell in the mid game, which is very good. Then we play 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix, just to clear back row that's a bit troublesome. 1 copy of Heater, this is for access code loops, access code like link ups. Does get facilitated off the Almirage. You can go into it off the Nightmare Phoenix. You also have Ash Blossom, but that is probably like the worst option. Then we play 1 copy of Win the Wind Charmer as well. Same reason as Heater, but we do have the Harpy Lady to go through this line, which could be fruitful in certain situations. Then last of the Link 2s, we have 1 copy of IP. Since we are stealing a lot of the opponent's stuff, it is good to just have like a generic Link 2 that you can kind of go into at any point. And the IP is probably the best option for that. It does then let you get into the Nightmare Unicorn. This will cost you a resource from hand to do this, but being able to get that like free spin is just really good. Then we have 1 copy of Selene. Having the spells for Selene is never going to be an issue in this deck, so the Heater and Wind plays into the Selene. Selene can summon your Dark Magician can net you a search, and then you can make access code and present big damage. Then that will go us down into our Xyzers. Of course, for this, we are playing 2 copies of Big Eye. You do have generically like a free rank 7 you can go into when you're doing like the typical combo in this deck of normal summon the Blackstone, go Red Eyes, then Dark Magician, then BLS. So you will be able to have like a free rank 2, free rank 7, because the Dark Magician and the Red Eyes can't attack, so you do want to present some kind of damage or do something. The Big Eye does get you that free steal, and then we have, of course, the Flare Metal, because this will be able to attack and do a bunch of damage, but it will also like soft lock the opponent if you can do enough damage that they can't actually activate anything, because taking the 500 would be lethal damage. So this card is good to go into in that kind of situation. But that will wrap us up here for the deck profile for this one. So as always, if you do have any recommendations or things you would change with the list, do remember to comment those guys down below. If you do like this one, of course, hit the like button. I never ever say that, and I don't know why. But as always, I've been Ben from Nolan TCG, and have a good afternoon, everybody.